You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel.
George, it's the middle of the night. We're on a deserted island off the Scottish mainland in the middle of the North Sea, and although you may know why we are here, I do not. When are you going to tell me what we are doing here?
Ruth, you're here to help me. I need you to record the most important meeting in the history of all humanity. Not since Moses spoke to God has there been a more important meeting. You are about to take part in history. But here's the thing, Ruth. You won't ever be able to tell anyone about it.
That's why we've come here. That is why you asked me about the official secrets then. So no one will ever know.
Did you really think we were here for any other reason?
And it's not the Russians.
It's not the Russians.
The Americans?
Not even the Germans.
I'll need a typewriter.
One has already been sent in advance.
Has it?
No, that is a lie.
A lie?
You will find that much of life is, Ruth. The trick is not to find out the truth.
Which department do you work for again? You didn't say.
No, I didn't. Come on.
The advances of the 20th century were pretty unique compared with what went before. TVs, fridges, computers, nuclear bombs, a huge change from the days of the horse and cart. Some believe these changes are significant. Some believe they indicate a progression that was faster than should have happened naturally.
Throughout your past, progression has taken many forms. Civilizations have risen and fallen, those that have disappeared into the cosmic dust.
Societies advance via war, or fail by it.
It is the barometer through which such things are measured.
Throughout history, strange events have been recorded as happening around the time of conflict. In medieval times, it was usually taken as being an omen of victory or failure in military affairs. Is that what you're saying?
Military operations can, and often do, progress development, that is true. But they're also an excellent way of pushing such developments into your wider society.
The advances of the 20th century were generally considered to be on the back of oil discoveries.
The oil gave you the raw materials. All you see today is either directly or indirectly produced via that very substance. And yet how many of your people ever consider the connection? How many watch screens with little regard of how such communications ever came about?
People have to live in the world as they find it.
Your people live in the world created for them. It is the same elsewhere.
You mean the world over?
On any world, Miss Mansfield. On any world.
You're saying it's all artificial?
It is possible to see the same thing, but perceive it very differently from the reality.
Cryptic.
I think not.
Could you explain that to me?
A human being may very well observe the same world as, say, an insect, but do either species understand the world around them in the same way? The insect will be lucky to exist until the first cold morning. The creatures of this world have adapted to the environment they find themselves in. Humans have adapted the environment to their needs. Which sounds more organic to the ecostructure of this sphere?
You mean of the planet?
If you wish.
Not all believe in Darwin these days.
Darwin understood the world of his time, you, yours. Those in the future will understand it differently as well, but the seas will still roll upon the beaches as they did 1 million years ago. It is just understanding that changes.
Who are you?
Think of me as a teacher.
Teaching what?
Teaching those that are ready.
Ready for...
Those that have taken the first steps. Those not afraid to ask the first questions.
What first questions?
How did your species reach this point?
Is this it?
What were you expecting? The Ritz?
Is there a light switch in here?
You can look.
Right.
but you will not find one.
Oh?
There are some candles by the stove.
You have been here before?
I phoned ahead. There should be some matches with them.
I will have a look. How many shall I light?
Just one.
One?
Yes.
I will not be able to work in that light.
Just do the best you can.
I cannot guarantee that the notes I make will be readable afterwards.
We will have to make do. Like during the war.
I thought things would improve after the end of the fighting.
Why?
I just thought they would.
Go on.
But there is still rationing.
You're not married, are you?
No. Is that important?
No children.
I said I'm not married.
If you had to sacrifice one man to save 1,000, would you do it?
I'm sorry?
I'm saying, hypothetically, it would be a concept that you could understand.
Hypothetically, it is a concept I understand.
Good.
It may not be one I agree with, but yes, I understand it.
But Ruth, if you could save 1,000 lives at the loss of only one, do you not see the logic in that?
I see the point you are trying to make, George.
Then it is obvious what you would have to do in such a case.
No, it is not.
You would allow 1,000 to die.
Any society, George, that would sacrifice one of its own for its own safety and survival deserves neither.
The thinking behind this concept...
Because they might choose to sacrifice you. Do you understand? And that would be as equally wrong as the loss of a complete stranger unknown to you.
You care about people?
We do not care about each other. Who will? We are all connected, George, all of us. That may sound silly to you, maybe even foolish, but I believe it. Even during the war, I believed that every time a German died, it diminished us in some way. Their losses were ours, and ours theirs.
Your father and mother were killed in the air raids in 43.
Is there anything else you want to know? You seem, after all, to know just about everything about me already.
Ruth Carter, 31, from Middlesex. Part of the Land Army, then volunteered to be a searchlight operator. Part of the 93rd Searchlight Regiment, and then finally joined the WRNS. Permission from your parents was not sought, was not attainable. Marital status is currently single. Was he in the RAF?
Yes.
Lost during the Battle of Britain.
You tell me. You are obviously better informed.
Sorry. Just making sure.
Making sure of what?
That we have the right person.
The right person?
You said before that you volunteered for this. I wondered why you lied.
I never...
You never volunteered. You were selected. After the death of Captain Mark Chivers, you never volunteered for anything. It was noticed. After the end of the war, you were seconded to Whitehall.
Lots of women.
Lost their fiancés during the war?
Yes. What about you?
What about me?
You may know everything about me. What do I know about you?
What do you want to know?
Are you married?
I was.
What happened?
She left me. For a pilot. A fighter pilot.
I am...
It is all right.
Any children?
A boy. He's away at boarding school.
I see.
With all the millions that have died during this century, with war on a scale that, until recently, no one could imagine, it has become all too easy to forget the value of human life. When we saw the film of the concentration camps, we thought life could never, ever return to normal. But slowly, it does, Ruth. I'm sorry for your loss. I really am. But do not forget just how precious life is. When we saw the bodies piled up, it was hard to believe that life could be worse than that. I have to tell you, it can be. There is always another enemy, Ruth, and they are always different from anything you have ever imagined before. So, we have to fight to maintain what we still have. We have to make sure that it is not lost, not taken away from us. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made. To save many, sometimes others have to be let go.
Like Mark?
In a way.
Sacrifices for the greater good.
Did you know how we almost lost the war?
I do not understand. How could we have lost? Germany was fighting on two fronts. The Russians in the east, the Allies in the west.
You do not always need soldiers to win a war.
Then what do you need, George?
An advantage. With whatever happens tonight, I need you to remember that. However this plays out.
Okay.
All life has meaning, Ruth.
I thought Marx did.
We may not see the cosmic scale, but we are all part of something bigger than ourselves. Things happen. People do not always see them. They do not always understand them, but things happen.
Are you all right, George?
Why do you ask?
You sound a bit strange.
I am as I should be.
You said that we could have lost the war. Mr. Churchill never said that. No one ever said that.
The people could not know. It had to be kept from them. If they knew what the government came to know, the social order, it would have all been very different, Ruth.
People do pull together, George. It's not always everyone fighting just for themselves. Neighbours will come to each other's assistance. People are capable of lending a helping hand. If there are problems to be faced, George, the country, this world can face them together.
People only pull as one, Ruth, while they still believe they can win. When they lose that belief, it all falls apart. It has before. It could again.
Will our visitor even know we're here? There's only candlelight. From the outside, he won't know we've arrived.
I am sure they are already aware.
Are they arriving by boat, as we did?
I doubt that.
Flying in?
In a way.
Where do you want to sit?
The table. We will sit at the table. I will sit at one end, you on the side, our guest opposite me.
So I will be in the middle.
Yes.
And you still will not tell me who you are?
You would not believe me, Ruth.
Why was I chosen?
I didn't choose you.
Someone did.
I do not know. What is your blood type?
I do not know.
Rh negative.
How do you know that?
Eye colour? Green. Maybe even hazel in a certain light. You're also very focused, a sense of compassion. You fear for the future of humanity.
Does not everyone? Why do you know so much about me? George, is something wrong?
Why do you ask?
You are trembling, shaking almost. Is that why we are only using one candle? What are we hiding from?
The truth.
I'm sorry, George. Maybe I should go. You don't seem quite yourself.
I'm afraid it is a bit late for that, Ruth.
Churchill had wanted to know the truth of the claims his pilot...
Your greatest wartime leader.
The British came to the conclusion by 1952 that their airspace was being violated. Some wanted to take action.
There is more than one way of fighting a battle, Miss Mansfield. Some feel that only a direct demonstration of power and strength will ever defeat an adversary. Others access the opposing side and come to the conclusion that the sides are not equally balanced, an advantage lying with the technologically advanced civilization. You see that throughout your history, when two cultures collide, the weaker opponent is almost always consumed by the stronger.
And when they are not?
When a weaker opponent refuses to acquiesce to a more advanced culture,
Yes.
they are destroyed. Completely.
There are no other possibilities. Do the strong always wish to dominate the weak?
It is dominating the vassals that make them strong. If the strong do not govern those weaker than themselves, the lower cultures will rise and their positions will be reversed. It is the way with all living things.
That was the thinking of 1940s Germany.
Who were in time defeated by those stronger than themselves, but for a time they were dominant.
There have always been rumours about the Nazis' level of development. Their obsession with being the master race, blood types.
They were united. Such a force becomes strong. It has always been this way.
And elsewhere,
Such laws are universal.
the weaker is always vanquished.
The weaker must be clever.
In what way?
To survive,
Yes?
they will have to negotiate. decide what it is they can afford to lose.